And so I saw that he had tweeted about me. And I was like, why is he tweeting about me? And then I check my email and I get an email from a reporter at Fox News. And they're like, do you want to comment on this tweet that JD Vance wrote about you? And I was like, what's there to comment on? And the tweet, I'm going to throw the tweet in here so y'all can see. And this is what the tweet said. And my response, I sent a response back to Fox News, and I was basically like, it's obvious that JD Vance doesn't, or that the senator doesn't understand what decentering whiteness actually means. Whiteness doesn't have anything to do with white people. Whiteness is a system. Even in the absence of white people, whiteness as a system is still upheld and centered. Hey y'all, Janice on the mic, back with a story time. I've been meaning to tell this story for years, and I think now is a good time to tell y'all about the time that JD Vance tweeted about me, which caused me to get an influx of hate mail. I had my consultancy investigated, and yeah, it was a stain on my first trimester. So let's get into it. So what happened? So for those of you who this is the first video of mine you're ever watching, or you don't know anything about me, my name is Dr. Janice Asare, and I am a author, a writer, a consultant, a organizational psychologist. I am a person who does many things. And in 2023, I was promoting my first traditionally published book, which is called Decentering Whiteness in the Workplace. The book was my third book. I have two self-published books. The first was called Dirty Diversity, and the second was called The Pink Elephant. And so I had already published two books where I wrote about DEI, diversity in the workplace, and my third book looked at the system of whiteness and how it impacts people's workplace experiences and how we can decenter whiteness, because whiteness as a system is harmful in the workplace, and how we can decenter whiteness from our workplace systems. So my book came out October 2023. We all know what happened October 2023. So if I look back, I need to look back at the astrology that was happening. Somebody told me that, actually. Somebody from my publisher was like, I know you're into astrology. You need to look at what was happening in the stars in October 2023, because it was a lot of stuff. We all know October 7th happened. And I'm trying to promote my book. And so I ended up writing an article on, it was like called 3 Ways to Decenter Whiteness in the Workplace. I was promoting my book, and I wrote it. The book came out. You know, all of the focus was rightfully on the genocide that was happening to the Palestinian people. And so it was really hard to, even though the idea of decentering whiteness at its core is related to what's happening to the Palestinian people, it was really hard to feel the energy to promote a book during such a horrific time with what was happening, you know, in Gaza. And so I was like, you know what? It's a tough time. I wrote this article. Again, the book came out. I promoted the book as much as I could. And then around November, it was like a couple days, it was like a day or two before Thanksgiving 2023, I started getting an influx of hate mail. And for those of you who don't know, I've been writing for professionally for the last like almost 8 years. And so anytime I've written an article, you know, sometimes I write articles and it gets a lot of backlash, and that comes with the territory. When you write for public facing platforms, that's just what's going to happen. You're going to write, some people are going to agree with what you have to say. And for me, as somebody who my writing focuses on workplace equity, I write about things all the time and people disagree with me. I get hate mail. People will call me N-word this, N-word that in my inbox. It is what it is. That's what comes with the territory. But I was noticing that in the days leading up to Thanksgiving 2023, I was getting such an influx of hate mail. And I was like, what is happening? I'm getting so much, like more than usual, right? And then I got a Google alert, and the Google alert said an Ohio senator mentioned me. And at the time, admittedly, I did not know barely anything about JD Vance. I did not know that this man wrote a book called Hillbilly Elegy. My partner told me afterwards, like when everything started to escalate, but I didn't know anything about JD Vance. And so I saw that he had tweeted about me, and I was like, why is he tweeting about me? And then I check my email, and I get an email from a reporter at Fox News, and they're like, do you want to comment on this tweet that JD Vance wrote about you? And I was like, what's there to comment on? And the tweet, I'm going to throw the tweet in here so y'all can see. And this is what the tweet said. And my response, I sent a response back to Fox News, and I was basically like, it's obvious that JD Vance doesn't, or that the senator doesn't understand what decentering whiteness actually means. Whiteness doesn't have anything to do with white people. Whiteness is a system. Even in the absence of white people, whiteness as a system is still upheld and centered. And I think that's basically what I like wrote to Fox News. But so I was like, okay, this Ohio senator tweeted about me, and then everything happened, right? I got another tweet from Vivek Ramaswamy. I got a tweet from a bunch of people, and I think this was after Elon had bought Twitter, so I wasn't on it like that anyway. And I was like, oh, this is like at the time of, maybe at the time that I'm making this video, it has maybe 9 million views. So that tweet was viewed 9 million times on Twitter. Forbes's post about my article. And so I think it went viral on Twitter, and that's what set off the firestorm. They had posted it on their other social media platforms, but it went viral on Twitter. And so all of this stuff was happening. People were emailing me. I was in the New York Post. I was in some other right-wing publications, and they were basically trying to drag me and say, I want to decenter whiteness. I want to decenter. So it was a whole thing. This guy from Fox News, funny enough, I was at the gym, and I saw myself on Fox News. I don't know what his last name is. I think it's like Gutfield or Gregfield. There's a commentator on Fox News, an older, like middle-aged white male. And he like did a whole segment on me. And I think I got a Google alert about that. But so like they were dragging this whole thing, right? And it was really difficult because at the time I was also pregnant. I was in my first trimester and with my first child. And so it was a very difficult time, right? I'm trying to promote my book, my first traditionally published book. And I, at the same time, was being attacked, or I had been attacked by this U.S. senator and co, right? And so it was just a really difficult, period for me. And so that happened. But the good thing about, for anyone watching, if you've ever been dragged on social media, or if you've ever gone viral, the good thing is people have very short memories. People's attention spans and memories, they troll you for like a week and then it's over, right? So that happened. And literally like a couple weeks later, because this was Thanksgiving 2023, people that are supposed to be spending time with their families were spending time calling me the N-word and trying to drag me on social media. But that happened. Thanksgiving came and went. And then like a week or two later, in early December, I received a letter from JD Vance and 2 other US senators. The letter was also sent to 2 of my federal clients. I had listed the companies that I had worked with on my website. So I had listed all of the companies that I had collaborated with. And I have done pro bono work, which means complimentary or free work for companies. I have dedicated my time to a lot of companies for no cost. And I've also got paid to do speaking engagements, to do consulting, to do workshops. And all of that was on my website. And I was part of, NASA had a inclusion network, or so a group of consultants that were working pro bono or had agreed to work pro bono to review proposals and things at NASA for inclusion. And I was accepted into that program. So I had that listed on my website. And then I had also done work where the Department of Energy had paid me to review proposals. I think these were grant proposals that people submitted in order to get money and funding. And so I was reviewing proposals for DEI, right, to assess the equity lens, and I was rating and evaluating these proposals. So I had done work with federal clients. And so this letter that was sent to me, but also sent to NASA and the Department of Energy, basically was like questioning and trying to interrogate what the nature of the work that I had done with both of those agencies was. I think that Vance and Co. had thought that I was doing anti-white trainings, right? With these federal agencies. Meanwhile, I'm literally reviewing proposals for equity. The same thing that those Doge people were doing, where we saw those depositions go viral, and now I think they're trying to scrub them from the internet. The same things that those people were doing, reviewing grant proposals for DEI, was the exact same thing that I was doing. And I was evaluating the proposals that were sent. And so they sent a letter, Vance and Co., these two US senators sent a letter to NASA and the Department of Energy. And then I had some no-name reporter from some random right-wing small publication that no one's ever really heard of got my number and was texting me and was like, hey, I want to get a statement for this article, because he basically accused me of lying, that these were not my clients. And I was like, I have worked with them in different capacities. One, I worked with them on a pro bono basis where I was agreeing to dedicate my time to this inclusion effort. The other, I actually got paid to do this DEI work. I have emails, I have receipts, I have all of that, right? Why would I list them all as clients or as partnerships? Because I think I said these were partnerships, collaborations, clients. There were a number of different, why would I list them if they weren't, right? And so this reporter tried to accuse me of lying about that these federal agencies, and then proceeded to write a completely full of lies article about me and saying how I lied about them being clients, right? Which was not true. I don't know what ended up. So these three US senators sent the letter to NASA and the Department of Energy. Then both agencies came back to me and said, oh, you have us listed as your partnerships. What was the nature of our relationship? And I explained it to them. They didn't come back to me and say, oh, we apologize. Because as agencies, you should have record of every consultant, I don't know how these department agencies, the intricacies of them, but you should have records of the consultants and the people that you work with. It shouldn't be random PR people from your federal agency emailing me because you have no record or files of all of the consultants and the people that you worked with. And that was that. I didn't hear anything about it. The letter said I had 30 days to respond, so I had till January 2024. And when that happened, I was honestly like terrified, because who wants their consultancy investigated by three US like, that's scary. It sounds, when you read a letter that has it, and I still have the letter, child, I'm framing it, but when you see something like that, it at first feels really scary. And so I just kind of retreated into my shell. And I stopped talking about my book, Decentering Whiteness in the Workplace. I stopped promoting it because I was scared. And I was like, I just want to write. This work is important, but I don't want to get attacked. And, with me being pregnant with this little one, it was a really scary time. So I stopped all book promotion, and that was that. And so my publisher was saying that when I started writing, or when I had submitted a proposal for this book, which is my newest book, Rise and Resist, they were like, why, after everything that happened with Decentering Whiteness in the Workplace, would you want to write another book? And when they looked at my book sales, they said my book was doing really well. in sales as far as what, like when the book came out, good pre-orders. I think my book has sold about 4,000 copies at this point. Decentering Whiteness in the Workplace, which I think is good for a book of that type and that nature. But they saw that the book sales had saw a precipitous drop after like the first couple months. And I was like, yeah, because I was shook. I was like, I'm not going to be talking about decentering whiteness if I'm going to continue to get attacked. Somebody even sent y'all, they sent my mailbox. I went to my mailbox. I have a mailbox in New York City, and somebody sent me a letter. And it was just like basically airing out their grievances toward me. But y'all know I'm a millennial. I come from the anthrax era. And when I see a random letter, I want to put on gloves and have like some tongs and open the letter. But this person sent, and what was wild was that there was no return address. How are you able to put this? So maybe the person lived in, I'm so confused how you can deliver a piece of mail without a return address. I don't understand how that even works, but it was just scary. So the publisher was like, why do you even want to write another book? And I was like, this is important. These people are not going to scare me. And that's actually part of the reason why I thought it was so important to write Rise and Resist. I think I wrote about 32 Black people who have these long legacies of resistance and how they resisted globally and what we can learn from their legacies about resistance right now when things are so precarious. So I do think that what that situation taught me is that we can't be scared into submission. Yes, that was a really scary situation. When I tell people what happened, they're like, oh my gosh, that is wild. I was just on a podcast, and I'm connected with the podcast host on LinkedIn, but she didn't know what had happened. A lot of people don't know, and that's why I thought this story was important to share, because DEI as an industry has been so attacked, so vilified, and it did impact my business. Not that situation, but just, as the anti-DEI sentiments grew in the last 2.5 years, like even before this man got reelected, people were growing weary of DEI, right? Focusing on Blackness too much makes people uncomfortable. And so my business has been impacted. I've seen a decline in the number of people or the interest from corporations. It hasn't completely gone away, but it's been severely decreased, right? If I'm being 100% honest, and I'm always honest with y'all on this channel, but it's decreased. And so I think that situation taught me how resilient I am and how resilient we all are, because I'm sure y'all watching this have some wild stories of things that happened to you. And you were like, I did not know how I was going to make it out of that situation. And you did. And look at you now. And you thriving. And so if you are watching this and you are going through a hard time, you may be part of the over 600,000 Black women that lost your job in the last year and some change. If you are just somebody going through it, just know that, not to be corny, not to be cliche, tough times don't last, but tough people do. But even beyond that, like, things will get better. This is not a permanent state of being that you are in. I think what this situation also taught me is the importance of keeping your information safe, right? I went through, and I'm not going to promote the service until maybe they sponsor these videos, but I pay for a service that takes my information off of social media, because just like anyone, I don't want to be doxxed. Who wants to be doxxed? And, people can find out so much information about us so easily online. And so I'm really aware and mindful now of what information is about me online. I do everything I can to keep my child off of social media. I don't post anything about my child. I don't think it's good to post, like, even when my child was born, that's when y'all got my maternity photos, right? After my child was already born is when I posted my maternity photos, just because I believe children are innocent and they're too young to consent to being on social media and on the internet. And once something is on the internet, it's gone forever. Like, I'm a lost cause, because those of us who grew up during Facebook and MySpace and our stuff is all Tumblr. Our stuff is all over the internet, right? I consented to that. I'm okay with that. But a child who is too young to talk or to consent, I don't think deserves to be online. So I think it's important to be mindful of the information that you put on social media. And I'm gonna share in future videos more about how to keep yourself safe if y'all are interested in this digital age of social media. But it's so important that, especially those of us doing any sort of civil rights or social justice work, that we are really mindful of how to keep ourselves safe, because right now it's not just about physical safety, it's about digital safety. And it's so easy to get information about people online, private information, and use it in nefarious ways. So that is my JD Vance story. I just wanted to share that because I realized I haven't really shared that on my platforms. I've talked about it on podcasts and stuff, but that is my experience. I'm going to make a video, I think, about DEI now, like how my business is doing. Y'all know I've been running a consultancy for almost 8 years, and just from the murder of George Floyd to this anti-DEI backlash, I really want to talk about how things have been for me in business. And I know that I think that a lot of people enjoy those videos because those videos have done well on my channel. So I think I'm going to make some more videos about that. But thank y'all so much for watching. Let me know what y'all think, and I will see y'all in the next video.